I'd like to invite Professor Pam Weathers and her husband Stephen Dungan to come forward, please. Welcome. This is one of the many women of strength at WPI, and I'm very pleased to have her up here. Pam is Professor of Biology and Biotechnology. She's been a member of the WPI faculty for 30 years, beginning when she was 12, and her research area focuses on an anti-malaria vaccine. She is just returning from a trip to both Uganda and the Canary Islands, where she attended a board meeting and provided lectures on her research. Pam and Stephen having made 2 gifts recently to support research in the plant science area. There is a special aspect of this couple, and that is that their 2 children were educated as benefit of the WPI tuition support program for faculty, and they wish in particular to make sure that we understand that they feel an opportunity to pay back the generosity that WPI has extended through that important benefit program for the faculty. Again, a wonderful example of leadership. Thank you both so much. Welcome to the Presidential Conference. Thank you, guys. Thank you. For the remainder of the program this evening, we have 2 parts. One is I have been asked by Dexter Bailey and his colleagues to give a little bit of a report card on where we stand at WPI, and I'm very pleased to do that. And then we will have the distinct honor of hearing from one of our student leaders. So the best comes last. Hang in there with me for just a few moments. But all of you who have invested so mightily in WPI and who are so aware of how difficult the last 12 months have been in higher education in this country and literally around the world, I think are deserving of a bit of a status report. So let me assure you to start with that you continue to invest in a fiscally sound institution. WPI weathered the challenges of the last year's economic crisis, I think, quite well. Behaving quite prudently, acting early to move to reduce our expenses as much as we could, freezing staff hiring, but maintaining our commitment to invest in the faculty. We had launched last summer 23 searches for new faculty, and John Orr, the provost, and myself made that our highest commitment to continue, if at all possible, those 23 appointments, and we succeeded in fulfilling all the appointments that were recommended to us, so we continue to invest in this faculty. At the same time, the staff responded very well by reducing expenses, avoiding unnecessary travel, just being smart about the fact that nobody knew what was around the next corner. And of course, our admissions and financial aid staff, under the incredible leadership of Kristen Tishner, did their very best to market WPI and make sure that we took full advantage of the continuing interest in high-quality private education. Came time to put out the decisions of acceptance, and the admissions staff said, well, it's probably smart to anticipate a somewhat lower yield on these offers of admission, given how difficult the economy is. So we put out the requisite number of offers of admission that would have been required to bring in the class of 850 freshmen for which we had planned. Lo and behold, the percentage of acceptances on our offers did not decline, stayed right where it was the year before. So we had the pleasure of welcoming 930 freshmen this fall rather than 850. Which is a terrific testimony to WPI's value proposition in the marketplace and the great work that our faculty does with these students. Not surprisingly, these students have a greater need for financial aid, so we saw a significant increase in the need for financial assistance, and that is just another reminder of how important these scholarships are that you folks have created and continue to support for these deserving students. Having taken all these steps, we were pleased to be able to complete this year, this past year that ended on June 30th, with a record surplus operations expense. We had a surplus of just about 6% of the bottom line of our operating budget, which puts us in a very strong position moving into this year. We still think there are considerable questions out there on the economic horizon, so we're going to continue in our frugal ways, and we are going to plan for the worst and hope for the best, so to speak. But because of the good work in the faculty and staff, we are coming through in very good shape. We are also seeing very strong performance from our non-traditional sources of revenue. The Department of Corporate and Professional Education is expanding its work in labor force development, labor training and retraining in Massachusetts. That's a very important business for us that has turned profitable again, and it's doing important work for the Commonwealth. I was able to assure the president of the Massachusetts Life Science Center just earlier this week that the investments we are making in education, research, and training in the life sciences are very well aligned with where the life science industry in Massachusetts is heading, and we are very much becoming a recognized player on that scene, especially for this work we're doing in labor force development. The faculty are doing an excellent job pursuing external funding for the research, and that curve is starting to trend up very nicely. So there are many reasons to feel optimistic about the continuing financial, not just stability, but health of WPI. Our endowment took a hit, like everyone else's did. The high water mark was about $405 million 18 months ago. We saw mid-200s by the time the carnage was over last spring, and I'm pleased to report that the endowment has recovered to something on the order of $310 to $315 million at this point. We operate with a spending rule that's a 3-year average, 1 year removed, so the implications of that downturn in the endowment will be felt in the years ahead, and that's one of the reasons why it's important to be in a position of generating these operating surpluses so we can make up for the decline that we will have in the spending rule proceeds going forward. We depend for about 14% of our operating budget on the spending rule for the endowment. So you do the math. You all of a sudden you're missing $100 million, and you take 14% of that, and you understand what the implications are going forward. We're very confident of being able to manage through that. We have none of the difficulties that you're reading about on the front page of the business section at the much better endowed Ivy League schools and so on. It is a real tragedy, I think, the way the investing practices of some of our great institutions have run afoul of the economic realities of the last year. There are some really sad stories out there, but I'm pleased to tell you that with your continuing support as donors and the strong support of our faculty, WPI is doing very well.